Well, hi and welcome back to Twin Carbs. Today I'm going to have a quick look at my Jaguar XJ R Sport. It's 3 years old. I've had it since new, and it's been pretty much my workhorse, motoring up and down the UK for those past 3 years. It's due to go back this week, and I thought I'd do a quick summary of what I think about the car, and more importantly, the service that I've had from Jaguar dealers around the UK. So, list price of this car is something like £76,000, and you know, for that you do get a lot of car. It's a 3 litre V6 twin turbo diesel. Along with that you get reasonable performance and not too bad economy as well. I tend to get around the 38 miles to the gallon. I know it's probably advertised it a lot more, but there we are. So quick look inside. As you would expect, all the bells and whistles, sat nav, television, heated seats, heated and cooled seats, flappy paddle gearbox, cruise control, Bluetooth, everything that you would need for those long journeys up and down the motorways of the UK. Back seats hardly ever been used, but they're heated and cooled seats as well. Passengers have got their own controls. There's a nice big armrest tucked away in there as well. Automatic headrests. First car I've had that the headrests work electronically as well. So quite impressive. What is less impressive has been the servicing I've had with this car. Every time I've had to take it to dealers, it's been a massive problem. So the routine goes something like this: you book it in for a service, you take it along, you've got to give them like 2 weeks notice, because it's an XJ for some reason, and we need to order the parts in. You take it along for the service, it takes them a whole day, and then they'll come back and tell you they don't have the parts, for whatever it is or whatever reason, even though you've told them, for example, I need the brakes done. You'll turn up there, they'll have the car for a whole day. Can you come back in 2 weeks once we've got the parts for your brakes? Quite astonishing really. But worse than that, the car developed a problem after its very first service. So first service, I took it back to the dealers that I'd bought it from. I had got a fantastic deal through Jaguar leasing from this dealer. They're 163 miles away from where I live, so it's a three and a half hour drive to get there. And when I got the car back after its first service, so basically it had done 15,000 miles. There's a little countdown clock on the dash that tells you when it needs a service. So it got to about 15, it's supposed to get 16, but I thought fair enough, we'll take it back. And when I got the car back, it was very late, something like 6:30 at night. Bear in mind I've still got a 3.5 hour journey to do. The car hadn't been washed. It was just generally poor. I got maybe a couple of miles down the road and realised that a lot of cars were passing me rapidly, even though I was doing 70 miles an hour, or so I thought. I was actually doing 70 kilometres an hour. Done a software upgrade, and everything had been set, dashboard, everything been set to run in kilometres. So I had to pull into lay-by, obviously phoned the dealership. It was now about 7 o'clock, they were gone. So through the handbook and Google to see how to change the mileometer to read in miles per hour rather than kilometres. So ever since then, every service has come round at 10,000 mile intervals. which is probably 15,000 kilometres. Have Jaguar been able to fix that? Absolutely not. Have they shown any interest in fixing it? Absolutely not. Quite disgraceful, really. When I took my car back the next time to the same dealership, 3.5 hour journey there, left the car, I've got to say, on not one single occasion when I've had this car serviced did Jaguar see fit to have a courtesy car waiting for me, even though I'd booked one. So I never ever received a courtesy car and was left to foot it to wherever I was going that day. So next time I went, I pointed out the issue. They checked the software levels, couldn't find anything wrong, so left it. As I was driving home that evening, there was quite a noisy rattling noise coming from underneath the bonnet. I was driving on to Coventry the following day, and all the way down M6 I still had this rattling noise all the way down and home again. At the weekend I thought I'll just have a quick look, see if I can find out where it was, and quite surprisingly, I think I've got it here somewhere, bear with me, but quite surprisingly, under the bonnet, wedged under the corner, was the biggest screwdriver you've ever seen in your life. So, Mr. Mechanic, you've lost your screwdriver, it's mine now. But all in all, again a pretty poor performance. It hadn't been washed or anything. Next time I got the car serviced, I decided to get it done closer to home, even though I'd used the dealership previously. This is my 4th Jaguar, and they only did half a service. They hadn't fixed the fault. They didn't even try to fix the fault. They didn't top up the AdBlue, and when I went back to complain about it, I was told that the AdBlue top up isn't part of the service, isn't included in the service, which I found surprising given that they'd given me a service sheet signed off by the mechanic, and halfway down that list was top up the AdBlue, which he'd ticked off as having been done and initialed. So I can only assume that all the other stuff that he'd ticked and initialed on that sheet hadn't been done either. I was invited to come back 2 weeks later, however. The day before I was due to go back to get the software upgraded again and get the AdBlue topped up, the engine management light came on. I've got a nice Jaguar code reader, so I plugged that in when I got home, and it told me that the throttle body housing had a fault. So I left the alarm on, pointed out to the mechanic when I got to the garage the next day, asked him to look at that, and when I got the car back the alarm had been reset. I asked if they'd been able to identify and rectify the problem, and they said, oh, it was because your AdBlue hadn't been topped up. And really? No surprise that the engine management light came on again the following day with exactly the same codes showing the throttle body problem. This time I took it to a third dealer. All of those dealers are based in Scotland. I'm sure you know who you are. Took it to the third dealer, who correctly diagnosed the problem but didn't have the part in stock. It was on back order, we're going to have to wait. But they reset the alarm and told me the code won't show up again, but we'll get the throttle body as soon as possible and we'll have it repaired for you. What he didn't tell me was that when there are underlying engine faults, the diesel particulate filter doesn't regenerate itself. So I found myself working on a fairly remote Scottish island called Islay. Islay is very well known for its whisky production, make very good use of the water up there. But the diesel particulate filter warning came on, telling me to drive the car for a minimal of 40 miles an hour for at least 20 minutes. Now if you can find a road on Islay that you can drive on for 20 minutes in excess of 40 miles an hour, you're a better person than I am. There is one road that's a reasonably straight road that you can get up a bit of speed, but it's only 11 miles long, and there's no way that's going to take 20 minutes. So to call out Jaguar, and a lengthy waiting for Jaguar to find out how they were going to get the car either back to the mainland to be repaired or to get a local mechanic to come and see what they could do. Disappointing really that had the dealership told me that this may have been a problem, I probably wouldn't have taken this car over at Islay. I've got 3 or 4 cars and any one of them would have done the job. However, took probably 2 months to get that part, that throttle body replaced. It was then due for a further service, because it's only getting 10,000 miles between services, and took it back to that same dealership, and at 2 weeks notice told them I needed the back brakes done, actually put the spare back brakes in the boot just in case they didn't have them in stock, and lo and behold they phoned me at something like 4 o'clock in the afternoon whilst I was just driving in to collect my car to tell me that they weren't able to do the brakes because they didn't have the parts. Now how they got the wheels off to inspect the brakes without going into the boot and moving the parts out of the way to get the locking wheel nut, I have no idea. Another visit wasn't quite so bad this time. They're only about 60-70 miles away from where I live, so 140 mile round trip, but it's a whole day out of my working life, and therefore I can't earn money when I don't have the car. So the car now, when I took the leasing plan out, I did get a 3-year warranty on it to cover 60,000 miles, and the lease allows me to cover 20,000 miles per year. Now on a 60, the last service I got was a 64,000 mile service, even though the car's only done 48,000 miles. Work that one out, Jaguar, if you can, but I'm sure you're quite happy taking the money, probably in between £800 and £1,200 every time I go for a service. In short, as I said, this is my 4th Jaguar I have had. It is certainly my last. Just to add insult to injury, while I was tidying things up, you see it's been raining around here today, I did give the car a quick wipe earlier. I did go to the trouble of having the wheels refurbished at my expense before the car went back, just so that the leasing company wouldn't have any issues. Unfortunately, when the wheels went into the diamond cutting machine, the first wheel, according to the refurbishers, the diamond cutting machine had a software problem, more like whoever programmed it had too much to drink the night before. The outcome was it completely destroyed the wheel. This is like 2 days after the wheel should have been ready for me anyway, and I was quite annoyed at further delay. As luck would have it, I'd previously purchased a brand new rim when I first got the car, and I was able to take that up to them and speed the process along a bit. But there we are. 3-year-old, what's that, 2017 Jaguar XJ R Sport 3 litre diesel. If you come across this car in a forecourt somewhere it's jinxed. Best avoid. And I'll look forward to getting my next car, probably a Mercedes. Thanks for watching Twin Carbs. We'll see you again soon. Bye for now.